Hello and welcome back, folks. Heir of Carthage here. Holy crap, I feel like I've been gone for eternity. And I feel like I've been sick for eternity, even though it wasn't technically that long. I've had at least 5 or 6 days, though, of getting absolutely beat down by a cold, which is actually like an annual tradition for me now. In roughly the November to January time frame, sometime in there, I get a cold virus that puts me on my butt for a week, and that is exactly what happened. Now, fortunately, I am back. I'm feeling good. Nurgle did not win in the long run. And our good friend Wicked has brought back some more replays. One here for you today. This one is going to be the Scourge of Cain Dark Elves, along with the Ecstatic Legions of Chaos, taking on the High Elves and the Ropsman clan of Kislev. It's going to be Malekith and Archaon, two great warrior sorcerers joining together to take on Emric and Kastalton, the Patriarch. So two more melee-centric characters, and interesting enough, there is not any magic here for the High Elves. They will have to rely on Kislev for that, who has only brought a Tempest caster here. And let's take a look at the spells brought. So there's Glacial Blast, which is not that amazing, I don't think, for a spell, but we do have Hailstorm and Blizzard. And then Hawks of Mishka as well, which can be effective in the right situation. Interesting to see the elves come without the magic. They've clearly spent big on Emric, and then some infantry, because you're mixing Silverin Guard, Sisters, the Talons of the Torquelada, so a lot of interesting stuff there. But look at this, a heavy use of Scourge Runner Chariots, so sticking to a theme of a lot of skirmish and mobility here for Wicked. And then for the Ecstatic Legions, a couple of Skull Crushers here, so this is some major anti-large capability that they'll be bringing to the battlefield, and then mixing in some Trolls along with some Warriors and some Marauders. This should add a very nice armor-piercing punch to an otherwise relatively standard infantry line of Chaos. And as far as Kislev goes, they are rocking a couple of Ice Guards. Now remember, these Ice Guards are going to be kind of hybrid characters, right? They're not super low armor, they're not super high armor, they hit pretty good in a melee as long as they're not charged, and they do pretty decent damage from range, and that damage is both magic and frostbite. And then they also have some highly defensive infantry units here between Zargard and the Armored Cassars, but we've also got the Hearthguard here too, which is an extremely capable infantry unit. Let's go check this one out on the battlefield, folks. The map is Swartzhofen, which is going to give a pretty open playing field in the middle, whereas both deployments are slightly up on a hill. We're going to see the High Elves here, led by Emric, firing away with their Bolt Thrower to start off with. Trying to get some kills from range. Now, Bolt Throwers are not going to be super effective against infantry formations. I mean, they can be, given they enough time to fire this type of shot. But typically what you'll see them used for is anti-artillery or picking at large targets like cavalry units. So they could be very good against Skull Crushers, for instance, or doing a little bit of damage to the Scourge Runners, though I think Scourge Runners would resist them a little better. Emric's going to get his breath attack off on the Helleborni Dread Spear here. It's an interesting pick for that. I guess there wasn't a lot of other painfully good infantry on the other side, but his breath attack's also very good against single entities, and he took a lot of damage for what was dealt there, so I don't think that was ultimately worth it. Now, Archaon just goes straight in, and he's got his Skull Crushers following him, and they just plow headlong into these Armored Cassars, and the High Elves that we're supporting are going to have to fall back and continue to skirmish. They're being quickly outflanked by Warhounds and some Masters there from the Druki. So the infantry line is pushing forward, and it is met, at least temporarily, by some Zargards here. They're not going to have an easy time getting through those Zargard, but Zargard are not terribly well supported. Some of the infantry for the Druki gets ahead of itself, getting attacked by Emric here. It's a Dread Spear, and it's not going to like this fight very much. The Helleborni did get absolutely doused by the High Elves there and sent packing. Let's see what's happening over here with Archaon and his Skull Crushers. They are now met by the Hearthguard, and there's going to be some magic. Oh boy, that magic from Malekith is going to hurt those expensive infantry units. Kastalton is trying to help hold that fight up. We've got a spell rolling down here. Dark Armor of Morkar. Who's that effect? Okay, a Soul Stealer from Malekith. Ouch, that's going to hurt also. That's going to hurt bad. Emric's going to have to get over here and try and get rid of Malekith, because Malekith is doing some severe damage. There goes the Tempest caster. Oh man, there are 2 Druchii Masters in here with Malekith though. That is a brutal combo. One last Hailstorm was cast off there, and I'm surprised that was able to be thrown. Look at the chariots here now helping with the Zargard, which the Zargard was handily holding all of the enemy infantry, but those chariots could turn that. Malekith is an absolute force to be reckoned with, and with the 2 Masters, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to take him down. You would need the Sisters of Avalorn and the Talons of Torquelada combined with Imric, maybe a breath attack. It's going to be really difficult to take him down. Imric is in some serious crap now. Even though he's a very powerful unit, he is in serious trouble. And Archaon's just brute strengthing his way through here. Let's see what happened to his Skull Crushers. It looks like one of them's still alive over here, just barely. So it looks like the Skull Crushers did get mostly dealt with. I see both units of them, and they're now very weak. And I mean, these archers are targeting the Skull Crushers. They really need to be targeting this fight in the air, but they can't because Archaon is all over them. So the disruption is working wonders here. There is a Sister of Avalorn free. It is not currently pressured, and it needs to be firing at a key target, and it needs to be doing it right this instant. Malekith actually is probably about to get them, because Imric is now done. He's being chased off by the Druchii Masters. I'm just curious to see what Malekith's target is. These Sisters still haven't even... Yeah, he's going for him. Yep, here comes the breath attack. He's going to get rid of him. Malekith could go to a bunch of places, but he's going to see to the end of these Sisters. Let's see how this fight's going over here, because Kislev had some brutally powerful infantry over here. And the High Elves were supporting, and they won. So they beat back that attack of Chaos. And the Zargard are holding... I mean, look at the kill count here. 141, 115. These Zargard just basically turned around and said, "Hold my vodka and watch me win." And they are absolutely doing it. Holy crap. That is a stellar performance from the Zargard. And the Hearthguard also was up against some tall odds and won. There's going to be limited ammunition available on the chariots, though they will be dangerous to infantry late in the game. This Handmaiden really should probably try and get back to the safety of more units, because that could be an important unit to pick at enemy single entities. Malekith is very healthy. That is going to be a real problem, and both Master units are in pretty good shape. So there's a lot of goon potential left for the Druchii. A whole lot. Gestalten is still very healthy as well, though he does provide a pretty good punch. He's on foot. He's going to have limited mobility. There's more forces recommitting to these fights for the Druchii and Chaos, but I don't see those fights turning around. The Zargard are going to hold here. So that is pretty cool to see some heavy infantry hitting at the weight level that you want it to in these fights. Whew, some nice close support fire here from the Armored Hussars, and they can continue to fire while they're being attacked as long as they're in defense. That was a nice play to do some damage to those chariots. I think that was appropriate. By our blood here, making a big difference, holding these units in the fight a little longer than they would otherwise, and those pistol shots are going to pay off. The Druchii are having a hard time finishing the High Elves over here, despite having the goons left to do so. The chariots are going to have to keep on rolling. Let's check out the other infantry fight. It's starting to wrap up. The trolls keep coming back from routing. They could play a big role later, but the infantry was not up to the task of busting through. I mean, so there was a huge spend on elite infantry on the part of the red team here, and so far, it has held. See the trolls here, they're going to get absolutely doused by this infantry as well. Now, I think one thing the red team's going to want to do here is not get split up and picked apart. And already I see two of these units kind of pulling away from the others. If I were them, I would move these units together. I'm going to grab my telestration tools. I would move these units together and try and hold their ground together. Keep your leaders close by. Gestalten may have some heals still available. I'm not 100% certain if he does. If he did, it would be good to use it on that Handmaiden. But see, anywhere where these units can be split, now here is the danger of putting them together. That Soul Stealer comes in for Malekith. That is an 18 magic spell, I believe, so it takes a lot of magic. And to be fair, I mean, I wouldn't have expected Malekith to have that much magic left late in the game. So that's a real downer for Kislev, and that may turn the tide of this battle. Sorry, I had to grab some water there. My voice is still on edge, so if it does sound a little weird, that's why. But in any case, I mean, that was a real clutch spell there by Malekith. You can see how powerful this group of infantry in Kastalton still is. They are still routing all the other infantry that comes back against it. Let's see what the High Elves have left. This Silverin Guard's going to be a tough unit. It's difficult to break their leadership. They have expert charge defense as well. It's going to be a goon attempt here, and it's going to work. It's going to get the Handmaiden. That's going to potentially play into the leadership of the surrounding units. They can now be terrorized. And terror is the best outcome right now for the Druki. It is close. The leadership is pretty low on the High Elves. Pretty low. Yep, there goes a terror route. That could become contagious. Malekith, though, is pulling out of that fight because the numbers are starting to be a little overwhelming, but if he would have stayed, he might well have been able to finish that and then just mop it up with the chariots. See, there goes another unit terrified. Comes a counter charge. This is probably the last charge this force can take. These two armies being apart from each other here at the end, I do believe, may cost them the battle. It will cost them the battle, because there goes all of the High Elf units, as I suspected they might, with the loss of that leader, and then facing the terror attack. So this was actually very interesting. I have to say I was pretty skeptical. Seeing these armies, or seeing the High Elf army, for instance, go sans magic early in this, I was like, they're gonna get blown out, and they really didn't. So that was curious to see, is that even though with the less magic, the elite units did take a toll. Here comes a spell here as well. This is going to be a Searing Doom from Archaon, or Piercing. No, yeah, it was Searing Doom. And then he's got a Spirit Leech here as well. Remember, Archaon's magic is different now. It's been tweaked. Boy, Archaon's been a tank here. Look at that, 142 kills. Still an epic fight being put up by Kislev, and it's because it is difficult to rout these elite units. And remember that Kislev has By Our Blood too, which means once they start to waver, they'll go unbreakable for a short period of time. And it feels like a long period. See, right there? That's basically army losses, but the By Our Blood goes active and kind of holds them in the fight for longer than they would otherwise be there, and makes them very dangerous. In some ways, this fight wasn't close because Malekith and Archaon are still quite alive. In other ways, this fight was very close because that's basically all that's left. So it's interesting here. The enemy army did have a little bit of anti-goon power with the Sisters of Avalorn and with Emmerich. However, it got singled out and dealt with very well by Archaon and Malekith. And so this was an interesting show here because you can look at it, I think, from both sides here. If we take a look at the elite infantry that was brought, the High Elf elite infantry, not stellar here on the part of the White Lions, and I'm not surprised. These units don't typically do great. This one did really well. So one of them did well. The Silverin Guard, not so much. Though they did help kind of hold back the chariots and stuff, so in the end, probably still useful. But if we take a look over here at the Ropsman clan, an unbelievable performance here from the Zargard. Look at the value across the board on these units. Just tremendous value, and really nice value out of the Armored Cassars as well. And then look at the Hearthguard. 3,010? And Kastalton was just sitting around on foot and still managed to pick up 739. And remember, the Caster got killed early and still picked up 900 value. The Ice Guard ended up not being a great pick. And it's not terribly surprising here. it would have almost been interesting to see, like, if they could have protected that Ice Guard and the Sisters a little bit better. It's possible between their Frostbite attacks and the armor piercing of the Sisters that they could have pulled down some of that Goon Squad. The challenge was that they also had to hold back 2 Skull Crushers and some Hounds and a lot of Chariots, which is difficult to do. And it, to me, kind of goes to a point where I think it's easier to disrupt missile formations than it is to control a missile formation. Now, that does not mean that people don't win with a good missile formation, because they do, and I see it on the competitive level of play, like watching Turin's videos and stuff. It definitely happens. However, I do think that closer, let's say at my level, which I'm going to call the amateur level, right? At my level, I think it's easier to disrupt a missile formation than it is to run one. That's just my opinion. But anyway, a really impressive performance here by the Ropsman clan and the High Elves, despite the fact that, again, the High Elves weren't even supported by magic here, but still had a really stellar showing, I think, all things considered. And then for Wicked, a very huge performance out of Malekith. Overall, this is, I think he said, over 14,000 gold value or something dealt, which is just tremendous. But Malekith getting almost 6,000. He's been kind of a meta pick recently, which is funny because I don't think he really used to be that way, but Malekith is back, and he's tough. Now, of course, Air will still go with Marathi because old dogs never learn new tricks, right? But interesting pick with the Scourge Runners. They absolutely did pay off in terms of investment, and they did cause a ton of disruption. And then you can see the infantry. Fortunately for the Dark Elves, the infantry was cheap, and it did a decent job, all things considered, but this infantry got crapped on for days by the Ropsman clan. Fortunately, like I said, it just wasn't needed. Now, the Skull Crushers did not perform well, and I have not usually seen Skull Crushers perform well. This one did okay. I don't see these units putting out much value. I don't know why. I don't know if it's their animations, if it's their stat lines, if it's the cost. I cannot figure it out for the life of me. These units look insanely dangerous on paper, and then they just don't perform well in battle. That's been my experience with them. Maybe you all have seen something different, and it's been kind of the same in campaign as it is in multiplayer, so I don't know what goes on with these units. You all tell me what you think. Anyway, an excellent performance from Archaon. Typically, this would not be outshone, but in this case, Malekith took it up even a notch higher. Hope you all enjoyed this one. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I'll see you all soon with some more content in Total War.